favorite animes right now that is absolutely getting pilloried for being way too wholesome. I think you guys know which one it is. I talked about this with Dragon's Treasure, but Spy X Family. I'm watching. I'm into the second season right now, but
so good.
Literally everybody fucking hates. It's so good, and everybody hates it because it's a like a positive nuclear family, not technically nuclear because they're not related, right? But like it's wholesome, and it involves a family with like a positive male role model who isn't a piece of shit. Like it's actually really good. But one of the reasons why I wanted to start that conversation this way is I want to say, okay, this stream is for people who are trying to get into anime or maybe expand what they're thinking about anime. What's one of the advantages? And perhaps we'll just go around with like Nina, T-Man, Flash, Brandon, kind of just go in that order. What's the advantage of watching anime? Why would somebody get into anime instead of just turning on Disney Plus under Chapek? I mean, Iger. Why not just do Nickelodeon? Why not just do Disney Plus? Why not just do, the whatever's out there on Saturday morning cartoons? Why would you watch anime? Let's start with Nina.
That's a great question. I think one of the reasons I started watching anime is because it made me think. There's a lot of stories, many genres of anime. So it's if one doesn't vibe with you, there's another one. There's always something you can find that you'll vibe with. And for me personally, it was science fiction and basically fantasy and anything sci-fi really. So stuff like Ghost in the Shell really made me think about the human existence, the philosophical questions. And then you have stuff like Studio Ghibli, like Totoro, where there's different variations of the movie and how you can pick it up, the story of what it is. You can watch it for the beauty of it, or you can look deeper within to see that maybe perhaps Totoro wasn't this kind of beautiful, sweet story, but it was about loss and the idea of death and passing on to the next world. So there's a lot of layers, and I think that good content is anime and has been anime for many years.
Yep. And let me say one thing on that real quick. And this is something I'm glad you brought up Totoro, because that's one that even my mom had me watching like when I was younger. That came out in 1988, My Neighbor Totoro. And any film, if you don't know anything about anime, I will say for me, a safe bet is almost anything by Hayao Miyazaki. And if you know nothing about anime and you just put this guy's name in, Studio Ghibli, Hayao Miyazaki, pretty much any one of these movies, films is going to be amazing. I mean, Spirited Away.
That's the Japanese Disney.
Yeah. Which Disney has basically tried to buy now.
Yeah.
No Flash. I'll even go this way. It's better than the Japanese. It's better than Disney because Disney watches Studio Ghibli to try to do their stuff, but they can never emulate it. That's where I'll go with.
Yeah, I agree.
To be just a little bit more accurate, though, there are a couple of movies on that list that are not by Hayao Miyazaki.
Sure.
For example, you got The Grave of the Fireflies is not exactly by him. It's by Studio Ghibli, but it's not by him. Same with Earthsea. Same with Poppy Hill, Arrietty. Some of those ones are not specifically by him, but it's by Studio Ghibli.
The top line here, Kiki, especially including Kiki's delivery service, like these all I would suggest to watch.
Nausicaa, that was like his first one.
These are good. Howl's Moving Castle is great. Princess Mononoke, fantastic. Like these are all really, really good movies, and they have deep messages. They're not, this isn't like when you're watching it, some very shallow children's thing that's just kind of a something that isn't thought provoking. I think all of them are very thought provoking and moving. Which is important. So T-Man, I highlighted that video about Gurren Lagann and maybe getting into anime, and you've had a really inspirational message in that video, but I want you perhaps to echo it. With Gurren Lagann, I used to think it was a giant dick joke. I mean, I'm not even lying because everything was a giant fucking drill, right? And they were always piercing stuff, and I'm like, okay, this looks like a dick joke. But then I watched it. and I was like, this is actually deeper than I thought it was. So what about anime can people who aren't into anime take from that, and why should they get into it?
Oh, so this is one of those subjects that I can rant hours and hours and hours on about. So I'm going to try and condense it as much as I can. Anime is a medium, and just like any other medium, there is important messages if you watch the good stuff. And I know there's a lot of jokes and awful stereotypes about anime, but you wouldn't skip on reading Charles Dickens or Moby Dick because Cat in a Hat was too silly for you. That's a lot of how anime really is. People like to make all the jokes, but really, if you watch the good stuff, the deep stuff, Gurren Lagann, Psychopaths, even some more recent stuff, Mob Psycho, Shield Hero, Spy X Family, there's just good stuff behind it all. One of the reasons which, how can I put this? So, stories in the past, the one I always like to go to is The Boy Who Cried Wolf. When you hear that story, you're not listening to a story about wolves. That's not the point of it. It is, the main message of that is don't betray people's trust. Don't fool people, especially with things which are important. And we tell those fairy tales to the kids because to them, they're just being entertained. But to us, we're trying to get a message, an important message across. And while today's Western media has kind of completely done away with that concept of timeless messages, anime, for the most part, let's be honest, there's a bit of a decline the past couple of years, but we can get into that later. Yeah, anime wants to hold on to those big, important messages. And that's one of the reasons why I stick with it. It's not because I like to stick with all the, kawaii, Japanesey and stuff. It's because just by itself, it's good.
Right. And I think that to me right there is why I continue to watch anime, why I watch anime even as an adult, right? I will choose to watch anime, not because I'm into the culture. I own 0 body pillows. I have like no figurines. I have almost no merch, right? Like literally almost nothing. But it's just good content. Like, it's just frankly good content. I watch it. I'm like, this was a story. It had an arc. It followed the hero's journey. And by the way, the anime knows how to do the hero's journey for women and for men, which is weird, right? Because in American films and American movies and Disney movies, there's no hero's journey for women. It's just you start at power level 9,000 and you're just own everybody, which it defeats the point of a narrative which has crossed human culture and time, which I think Japan and anime is still in touch with. Flash, what makes you what got you into anime, and what would you say to people that are trying to get anime, why they should watch it, and why they shouldn't bend the knee to Lord and Savior Iger?
Introduce your kids to Studio Ghibli first off. Just get rid of Disney. And then second off, what got me into it all, the first time I ever watched anything was like 6:30 in the morning on a Sunday before church. I found Dragon Ball Z when it was edited. I'm talking, when they would send people to the next dimension. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. When they would go to the different dimension and Mr. Popo was still black.
Oh wait, I never watched Dragon Ball Z. I'm sorry.
Really? I remember that was your biggest one that you like shamed
on. That's crazy.
Flash would hate
That's like the ultimate gateway anime.
I never admitted that to you, Flash, because you were like, I hate anyone that doesn't like Dragon Ball Z, and I didn't want to be hated by.
Was I drunk when I said
Excuse
that?
me?
Yes.
What?
Hating you little shit.
Was I drunk when I said that?
Yes, you were drunk.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, no, because I love Dragon Ball, like the first season, and I couldn't get into Dragon Ball Z. I was like, I can't do this. So
but this was before it was popular here. I didn't even know what anime was, and then I didn't even know there was a Japanese version of that. And then I stumbled on, because after they stopped making new stuff, I stumbled on the Japanese version through like the fan sub move. I'm sure you guys all know what fan subs are.
I know what you're talking about.
So I watched the rest of it in Japanese on shitty VHS tapes with awful quality. But then that kind of got me into more stuff. I started finding like Ninja Scroll, Remember finding I watched Slayer that same year. You know what that show is, but the small boobed girl sorceress.
Yes.
And it went from there. Like, it opened me up to a lot of stuff. And I think a lot of people got their jump on that show. So a lot of people found Pokemon too. I think
My Dragon Ball Z was Sailor Moon.
And I would say, Nina, that's why I'm glad we have like one girl on the panel, because like, no, but to be completely serious, that was the gateway for most girls I know that were into anime, that were of my generation. They watched Sailor Moon and then they moved on to other things like Fruits Basket or whatever else, they moved into that genre.
It wasn't my gateway, Andrew. I'll tell you that, because my gateway was actually, believe it or not, it was Hayao Miyazaki in Iran. When I believe
that. Yeah.
There was a thing called World Masterpiece Theater. And so before he made Studio Ghibli, he used to make series that were based on novels. And they would air those in Iran. And one of them was Mayonette. One of them was Heidi. One of them was Perrine. There's a lot of like classic stuff, Little Women. So like they made those in anime and like the Studio Ghibli stuff, and they would air those in Iran. And that was how I was exposed to it. And so when I moved to Canada, I was like, I need to find anime. And the only thing they played was Sailor Moon. So like, that's how I was like, oh, Sailor Moon.
I have a funny similar story with that. So my introduction to anime was a little bit different. So back when I was 3-4 years old in the wee country of Bulgaria, I didn't start out with Dragon Ball Z or anything of that sort. I started out with things like Vampire Hunter D, or the original Guyver, or other things which 3-4-year-old children should probably not be watching.
As a teenager, I shouldn't have been watching them.
That explains it. That explains.
Everything. The one that broke my innocence, because I was like, I always thought, anime is fun and cute and Sailor Moon, blah, blah, blah. The one that broke my innocence was this anime called 3x3 Eyes. And that one.
Is it
3x3 Eyes? Yep.
Yeah.
It's tentacle porn?
Is it hentai or is it?
No.
It's not. It's got a really good story, but it has like demon, and there is like kind of like, there's no rape technically, but women do get felt up by demons and stuff.
Well, so
really fucked up.
One of the classics. This is a gateway, and shout out to Crusader Saracen, who's one of my good supporters. He brought up the very famous, and this is one that got a lot of normies into anime. People weren't into anime before because it was in theaters. Was Akira in 1988, same year as My Neighbor Totoro. And anybody who thinks that anime is for kids, watch Akira. Right? There is so much action. There's so much going on. There's mind fuckery. There's also, once again, these are, there's implied SA, right?
They should never make this into a live action movie. Just stop it.
No, I don't think they can.
No, but I do wish that they would make a series and adapt the manga all the way through.
That's true, Flash. But if they do it nice and not Netflix.
Yeah. No, I want someone in Japan to do it.
Yeah.
No Netflix. Yeah. No live action, Japanese studio adapt the entire manga. That'd be great.
And the one thing is that the way they used to draw anime, like by hand, that's kind of becoming a lost art. So watching a lot of these old ones is a great place to start, because you're really watching an art form that is decreasing in use. This hand-drawn, hand cel-shaded, it's something that was present in Akira and a lot of stuff back in the day, but is not present as much today. And then Adam George says, isn't Akira like still the most expensive movie ever made? I think it's up there. I don't know whether it is, but
it wasn't cheap.
Yeah. Because you have to also understand, at that time when it was made, that was during I think almost the end of the Japanese bubble economy. So yeah, it might have been pretty expensive because of.
Have you seen the 4K version of it?
Yes, I own it.
No, I have not seen the 4K.
You have to get the one that's got. Do you have the right one with HDR? Because the first release, they fucking didn't put the HDR on it.
I think this is the one right here, right? The Blu-ray 4K HD Blu-ray.
That's the new one has HDR, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had to get
That's
the
the one
disc
I've got.
replaced because they fucked it up.
Yeah, they
When
did.
they first released it, there was no HDR, and for an animated movie, it's the HDR that's what really brings and makes it worth picking that up. Just the 4K transfer wasn't that, like, the HDR is what really made that pop. It looks awesome.
I will say one thing about that movie, which Mr. Mindset might disagree. While it is a good movie on its own, I would not recommend that being the first thing people watch, because it might be a little bit too much for them.
Agreed.
It is very intense. Yes.
So let's pause on that question because I want to get into that one. Okay, first one, you've got to name one, and I know I told this to Brandon, and Brandon was freaking out. He's like, "I've got 500 animes." Like, yeah, I want everybody to name one, but before that, let's catch these super chats because I want to get some people in the audience are already giving their opinion on what they think people should watch. So before I hear it from you guys, let's blow through some of these. Dustin Narochi says, which anime to start with? Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
I disagree. You need to watch the first series first, then watch Brotherhood.
Wow. Okay. I actually, but I
don't even
The
think
reason
that
the
should be a
reason that I
first one.
say that
is Brotherhood better or not, Flash?
Brotherhood is a better series, but
okay,
they skip over the first. So like the first series followed the manga to a point, and then it went in its own direction. So when they did the manga version, which is what Brotherhood is, they skipped over. They kind of just did like a full blast acceleration through everything they did before.
Mm-hmm.
So you miss a lot of stuff. Like there's stuff they didn't even do, like that one where they go and they fool the gold town. Remember that guy that was like abusing that village of miners?
Yes. That's
like
one
all
of the
that
first
stuff
arcs.
gets skipped over. Even the stuff with little Nina, like they kind of ran through that. That was a whole arc in the original.
That was such a butchered story in that one. I know. I was so sad. I was like,
but that was only like 2 episodes in Brotherhood, where it was like 15 in the original. So like I feel like it's better enjoyed if you watch the original series first. This is my opinion, but I feel like if you watch the original and then Brotherhood, you'll like Brotherhood a lot more.
I agree with that, Flash.
If you want,
I
think the first series is good too. Like it's not. There's no reason to not watch it. It's still a good series.
But like, as a first anime, like ever, like you've never watched one.
This is what you're gonna have to deal with, you know. I mean, if you're watching that as a first anime,
Flash,
it is pretty.
I'm saying, Flash,
dark.
you would recommend that as a first anime?
Sure.
Like you've never
the
watched
first
one
Full
before?
Metal. That's a great series.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Interesting.
I think it's a little intense.
It is intense,
I would say there's very
it's
serious
really good.
tones to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for an adult. I mean, like that's something that's not a childish like show.
That's true.
It's very serious tones and maturity in that show.
I guess it depends on your age too.
So, and that's what I was gonna get into when I asked you guys the questions. Is you can caveat. I'll let you caveat saying if you're an adult male, you're a single adult male. If you're a family, if you're a girl, right, and you want to get into that. Where would you start? I think that's a little bit different. I do think the answer is different. Shout out to people on Rumble, by the way. Make sure you're smashing that pussy. But we had one over here saying, all right, Yudashug Canoe Chainsaw Man is the tits. Thanks, Anna. I have a new subscription. Great show. I don't know about starting with Chainsaw Man. I think that might be
not a first.
I need to make a caveat about Chainsaw Man.
Sure, go ahead.
I know it's hyped. I know it's popular. I know the manga has been very high selling, but I think it might have been overhyped.
Yes.
And the reason I say that is because there are other shows this season that are airing this season that I would rather watch first than to drop everything I'm doing to go see it. Now, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that I think it's been overblown in a lot of ways, and I do believe there are better animes this season than it.
Yeah. Shout out to Ultra SS, who I'll say the animes in a bit, but Ultra SS on Rumble actually has my exact order of the animes I started with, which is amazing. But let's get through some of these super chats. Britt said, "Looks like the little lawyer was late again." That's right. I called you little, you are younger than me and still cannot tell time without a digital clock, you can thank Danielle for the super chat. Thank you. I try to do it. Squid Girl. I have not seen Squid Girl. Is that an anime? I'm not even sure.
I haven't seen it.
I've not even heard of it.
I've seen
Okay.
clips. It's
Okay.
a cute little thing.
Cute. All
Yeah.
right. Psychopaths is a good anime. It's starting to hit too close to home. I have seen the first series of Psychopaths.
Stop.
I
That's all you need. Don't watch season 2 or 3 of the movies. It was meant to be one season, ended at one season.
Really?
Yes.
I've never watched it because I thought like, okay, that's good. I will watch one season. I'm good.
I watched
Sounds
one
Good
season.
with committing to one season. That's
Sounds
great.
like Death Note.
Yes.
By that I mean, in like, watch it to this certain point and then stop.
And then you're fine.
Yep.
No,
nobody
Psychopaths
stops
was
and
meant
it
to be
keeps
just
going.
one.
Yeah.
This is
Oh.
one I did see when I was younger because it is an older anime. But check out Record of Lotus War and its sequel, Chronicles of the Heroic Knights. Right up there with the best Game of Thrones and Arnold Conan movies, visually gorgeous animes as well. So I will say this. I've seen Record of Lotus War. I have not seen Chronicles of Heroic Knights. I don't know if you guys have.
Technically, I think the sequel is the I don't know if it's the Chronicles of a Heroic Knight. I think it's the Legend of Cristania is the second. It's the sequel, and the Legend of Cristania is really freaking good. I don't know if I've seen
true
Heroic
sequel,
Knights.
or is it like a time skip? Sort of
It's like there is a time skip. It's basically in the same world, and it happens
Okay.
a different place in that world, but it's really, really good.
Well, to show
Got it.
my age a bit, I remember, and this goes back to what got me into anime. For me, I saw Voltron when I was like 8, 9 years old, friend's house. Didn't know what it was. But later on, as an early teen, the Sci-Fi Channel, through their Festival of Animation and their Saturday morning anime, is what really got me into it. And Record of Lotus War was heavily... They had a commercial on there quite often for it, where you could order the VHS tapes of it. And they were like $30 a piece. The old days of
2
anime.
episodes.
1 tape, 2 episodes, $30-$40.
Oh,
Fucking rip off.
okay. You know what?
It was, but
yeah,
it's just
that's
how
a
it
rip-off.
was.
That is a rip off, honestly, for the price. But
okay, you know what? I looked up the Chronicles of the Heroic Knight. It's basically I watched it. It's basically the Record of Lotus War, but it's like a longer version of the same story. So like they retold it, and I actually like the original better because I think like it's succinct.
you've
It's
seen it,
13
so you've
episodes.
seen
Yes.
it.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. It's 27 episodes. And it's the same story, but it's just a little bit. It's kind of like the whole Brotherhood thing. It's kind of it's just different, but the same.
You like the cut better. You like the original cut.
I like
better
the
than
original cut better, but
okay.
there is definitely